Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, all those nooks and crannies where our, and I'm going to get it right, 100,000 watt transmitter gets its signals to permeate every nook and cranny into the spaces of those still receiving their support, their errands through the airwaves, the radio waves, that is. Welcome aboard. And of course, welcome to the entire world. We have people from all over listening to our program live and not live, etc., etc., etc. We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. These are serious times. We have decisions to make, and we have a lot to inform. And folks, let me tell you, there are some changes going on in the world. There are changes going on that we have to be cognizant of, and we have to take seriously, and we cannot be wishful thinking. We cannot be, well, I can go on and on. But before I get there, as you can see right now, I'm in rather solemn mood, especially after listening to a very well-respected former, well, we'll get there. Let's go to the geniuses in el estudio at Caroline. Good morning, my brothers.
And good morning, Egberto. We were going to fact check your 100,000 watt transmitter this morning. Make sure that you got in all the watts.
Did I get it right?
You did. It's, you know, it's actually a 40,000 watt transmitter, but by the time you hit antenna gain, it's got a radiating power of 100,000 watts. So I'm not exactly sure how antenna gain works, but we get out there.
Well, that's
and
important.
Speaking of serious times, folks, we are in serious times. Yesterday, the Supreme Court, well, I don't even know how to begin to explain how the Supreme Court has disappointed the American public yet again. What are those people doing? You know, nowhere in the owner's manual of president does it say you are allowed to attempt to overturn an election. It is okay for you to incite a riot inside the Capitol and get people killed. Nowhere does it say that. And the Supreme Court justices of all people should know what it says. No, you do not have immunity if you commit criminal acts. Some things you're going to have to do as president. Okay, you do have some immunity, but not when it comes down to killing Capitol police officers. Not when it comes down to inciting riots inside the Capitol. Historic stuff damaged. Nowhere does it say that. And the Supreme Court of all people should know. Every one of the presidents that is now probably, slapping their forehead going, dang, I could have overturned that election and it would have been okay. Richard Nixon's turning over in his grave because they gave him such a hard time on the Watergate tapes. And now we have a buffoon who's going to be set free. Oh, well, it's okay. You can overturn that election. You can get people killed. You can cause a riot in the Capitol, and it's okay. Oh, it's all right. That falls within the presidency. What kind of BS is this? Honestly, people, listen up. The Supreme Court, something has to be done about them. Some type of reform. I mean, Clarence Thomas, come on. You can buy the Supreme Court now? This is disgusting. It is just absolutely disgusting what's going on. So, Egberto, there you have it.
Man, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Brother Jack,
we are.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same subject here this morning. So
I'm just burnt to a crisp, folks. It just this just galls me. How can you possibly do this? Now, I'm going to go back to my corner and let Jack give him his wisdom before I hog up too much of your time.
No problem. Let's go, Jack.
Term limits. All right, our co-opted, corrupt Supreme Court sent the decision back to the lower courts on presidential immunity. Sotomayor's dissent warns of the possibility of how far the conservative justices will take presidential immunity, all the way to a draconian dictatorship. I say the Supreme Court will wait for the lower court to give them permission to drill down on presidential immunity. This is not a win for Trump yet, but it opens the door to unrestricted presidential immunity. BS.
So can in that case, can Joe Biden send SEAL Team 6 to assassinate Trump and get away with it?
Yeah, he can.
Is that what that means?
That's exactly what it means. It means right now, if Joe Biden wants to, you see, the thing about it is there are two different cultures. There's a culture that says by all means necessary. And there's a culture that says, first of all, I live within the laws of the land. And if we have had 46 presidents, and not once, except for Trump, not once did these guys have a problem being subject to the laws all of us are subject to. And the scenario, let me let people understand something. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me let people know what's going on here, because it's important. The rationale that the Supreme Court is using behind presidents need immunity is that they need to be bold and not have to watch over their shoulders, having the fear that after they leave office, they will be prosecuted. Let's stop there for a minute. There has been 46 presidents in the United States. That has never been an issue. But also, if you believe in a constitutional democracy and the rule of law, it is okay if the other president tries to persecute the former president. I don't say they should, but they never really have. But it's okay if they should. They could. Because the fact of the matter is, if you believe in the laws of the land that we all have to follow, and then if that president does a frivolous attack on the previous presidency, it is clear that ultimately, like all of us who have to go face it in court, he or she would face it in court and it would be resolved. So it is bunk what the 6 Supreme Court justices are saying. But let me tell you a portion of that ruling that is even worse. It says that, by the way, the president on his personal stuff, even when in office, he can be tried. He can be tried on those issues. But the kicker is none of the things that he did under his official act, he can't. So if the evidence that we have has a genesis in acts that are considered official, then none of that can be used to prove the case. This is a Supreme Court capitulation to the current state of a failed former president and how to save said failed former president. Now, the question has to be, where does that take us going forward? It really means going forward that it is still in the hands of we the people. I want you guys to get this here. It's in the hands of we the people. But more importantly, if we are to maintain a democracy, we the people need to be educated, not by MSNBC, not by Fox News, not by any of these things, but go out and be educated and also use your common sense. Do you want to have a leader who has no checks and balances? I've stated for decades now that we are not a democracy. Some like to call us, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, we're a representative democracy. We are not even a representative democracy. We have never been. But it has worked to some extent because most of us were honorable. It had worked for most extent because most of us did the right thing. During the tribulations of this country, even as we had the most heinous acts in this country from its inception, whether that be slavery, whether that be genocide, whether that be any one of what the things we did commit, the internment of the Japanese, we have done some evil, bad things as a society. But when we did it, it was under the shadow of law. So yes, we had evil laws before, and we have corrected said evil laws, but it was done under a control system that no one really went rogue. When Andrew Jackson created that evil president created the Trail of Tears, when we went in the Black Mountains or whatever the hell that is called, and went against all the treaties that we went by, there was always a way that we came back into law, because there was that, in fact, law. There was a time the Supreme Court meant something. And this is not a liberal, this is not a right wing, this is not a conservative issue. This is a corruption issue. We have a corrupted Supreme Court, a Supreme Court that was placed there by the minority of the population of the United States, an uninformed population of the United States. That's what we have as our Supreme Court. Again, the justices on the Supreme Court, the people who made the transition to the majority, are there from less than half of the population. Again, I repeat, it is in your hands. It is incumbent on you to be educated. It is incumbent on you to be real. It is incumbent on you to understand that when you give unlimited power to anybody, any group, or whatever, ultimately it will come back and bite you. Can Joe Biden get Navy SEAL 6 and take out his main competitor right now? He could. And based on what the Supreme Court said, he couldn't be tried for it. As Sotomayor said, I want to read this portion of, I don't even need to go to Jackson here, but to Sotomayor. And it goes like this. In her dissent against the U.S. Supreme Court ruling Monday, liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor, and I don't know why they call her a liberal. She's not a liberal. I mean, she follow her rulings relative to corporations, etc. She's a good person, but she's not the progressives that I would love to see on the Supreme Court, but she's there. Order the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? Immune, wrote Sotomayor. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power? Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon? Immune, 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 immune. This is not a liberal or conservative thing. This is not a progressive or conservative thing. This is a Supreme Court that is bought. And this is a Supreme Court that in effect gives the president ultimate authority over anything. Now the executive can be used. Let's give a perfect scenario here. The executive can be bribed by a major corporation to create an executive order to do something. Right now, we have a lot of people going to the Supreme Court every time the president passes an executive order. And this is going around Congress. I want to let people understand how serious this is. This is an executive order. Now they have the right, when the executive order is challenged as unconstitutional, they can go ahead and say, okay, let's take it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court then rules. Again, it's the imperial president. Nah, it's constitutional. And we're stuck. I mentioned about how Republicans understood that their policies could not garner the support of most Americans. And in so doing, what they had to do is find a legal way within the Constitution to execute the unpopular, the unwise, their evil deeds. And the way to do that is using the judiciary. The judiciary and the format of the judiciary was the biggest mistake made by the founders. For those who think the founders were infallible, it's not infallible when what occurred could occur. We have depended on people who were honorable to run this country. We never thought about what happens when the electorate was snuzzled, when the electorate was fooled into believing that charlatans were actually able, capable, should run a country. The second major flaw has to do with 2 states, 2 senators per state, which completely blows any form of true democracy. Those were flaws in the Constitution, and anybody wants to be honest about democracy. I don't care what the history tells you back then about state rights versus federal rights. It means nothing today. It means nothing today with the way we transition state by state. Nothing. It's an archaic system that allows that you have to have a supermajority of people being knowledgeable to prevent this country from going under. And I tell you what, Richard Haas said today, and this is not a progressive, this is not conservative, this is just a guy who loves the country, who served the country. Richard Haas is. He told every country in the world, prepare for a new America. Prepare for a new America. An America now that you cannot depend on. America now that has lost its way. An America now that is losing its values. And the only salvation is what has always been the salvation, and that is you. But it means an educated you. An educated you. It's high time to stop the BS. It's all high time to stop. Oh, but look at what the Trump. It goes beyond Trump now because of this ruling. It goes way beyond Trump. Before and if guys with the video, I mean on the line, I'm going to come to you in a second. But I want to show you. I want you to listen to this segment. This segment is about 11 minutes, and I have to play this because I want folks to listen to just on the debate on the fact versus what came out. And we're just talking about the economy here, but I will be playing this first. So let's go ahead and play this piece. Folks, this is existential to us. We have to stop allowing the lies to permeate. We have to be serious. What makes the debates so upsetting is the litany of lies that Donald Trump told were so easily and should be flowing off of the tongue of anybody that's running or that comes out there to challenge Donald Trump. And that is what we wanted to see President Biden do on Thursday. The litany of lies were easy to debunk, and you didn't have to spend all of the times debunking them. First of all, his staff should have done the following. come out there and whenever for the lies, I had a better employment. No, my employment was this. Your employment was in the doghouse. And folks, go to Joe Biden or go to this independent website and see that right now. www.end. Now, let me tell you what I'm going to do going forward. When it comes to crime rate, the migrant crime is skipped. I tell you what, before I go into this narrative, listen to how easily all the lies of Donald Trump was debunked in under 6 minutes. These large lies debunked in under 6 minutes. Something that Biden could do over and over and over again, especially in the format of this debate. Should have been prepared to do it in this debate, not timidly, but forcefully. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Let's start, Steve, with Donald Trump's claim about Joe Biden's record on jobs. Take a look.
The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Steve Ratner, what's the reality?
Donald Trump, committed more than 30 lies during the campaign. Fact checked. I don't know how to fact check. I didn't sleep with a porn star, so we picked some other things to talk about. This is a good place to start, which is jobs. And so this notion that the only jobs Joe Biden created were so-called bounce back jobs is ridiculous. So let me show it to you as clearly as I know how to do. So here are the job numbers before the pandemic. We had over 150 million jobs. The pandemic hit. Obviously, we lost a lot of jobs. We started coming back. And you can see that in June of 2022, so a year and a half into President Biden's term, we basically got back to the pre-pandemic level. So these are, you want to call these bounce back jobs, you can call these bounce back jobs. But here's what happened after June of 2022. We added 6.2 million jobs to this economy. And so these are jobs that were created unambiguously under Joe Biden's watch. And here's something even more interesting, which is the job creation of both President Biden and Donald Trump making the right adjustments for COVID. If you take out the impact of COVID, Donald Trump created 182,000 jobs a month on average. If you do the same thing for Biden, take out COVID, he created 276,000 jobs per month, so way more jobs per month than Donald Trump created. And by the way, more than were created under President Clinton, President Obama, and so forth. It's one of the strongest job creation records in history.
So there's also Trump's claim about the largest tax cut in history. Take a look at what he said.
What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on.
And Steve, what are the actual facts?
The actual facts is that Donald Trump's tax cut, sorry, I keep confusing. Donald Trump's tax cut is nowhere near as large, the largest in history. And you can see here some of the largest tax cuts in history. The famous Ronald Reagan tax cut of 1981. President Obama had 2 tax cuts during his watch. This tax cut, which actually was passed in 1964, we call it the Kennedy tax cut because he was trying for it. And here's President Trump all the way down here, Donald Trump all the way down here with the TCJA at 0.6% measured against GDP, which is the proper way to measure tax cuts. And then he talks about how he was ready to start paying down the debt. This is completely laughable. The deficit was actually going up even before COVID hit because of Donald Trump's tax cut. And so when you put it all together, Donald Trump added $4.8 trillion of non-COVID. Again, we're trying to adjust for COVID. $4.8 trillion of non-COVID debt to our national debt. Joe Biden has added $2.2 trillion of non-COVID debt to our national debt in roughly the same period of time. And so the deficit and debt record between these two guys is, again, not even close.
And one more thing, there were many, but we'll just do these. Donald Trump also had this to say about crime connected to immigration. Take a listen.
He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before.
Steve, what's the reality about the rat's nest that we are living in?
You know, Trump's ability to lie with a completely straight face and to say things that just are absolutely factually inaccurate without even blinking is quite amazing. So let's talk about overall crime first. First of all, and I'm using violent crime here as a proxy, but you'd see similar things at other kinds of crime. First of all, crime really didn't even go down much under President Trump. It went down a little bit, it went up. You can say this was COVID, but basically no change in crime. Under President Biden, here's what's happened to violent crime. It's gone from 398 per 100,000 people, the rate of crime, down 26%. 294. This is an extrapolation of what this year will look like if present trends continue. A huge drop in crime this year. And so the record on crime overall between these two guys, again, isn't even close. So he's talking also about migrant crime. Let's talk about migrant crime, because this is something most people don't appreciate, which is that the rate of crime committed by both legal immigrants and undocumented immigrants is actually lower than that of U.S.-born citizens. So here is the crime rate for violent crime, a bit over 200. For U.S.-born citizens, it drops down for legal immigrants. And if you're an undocumented immigrant, you actually have one of the lowest crime rates. And among the reason for that is not that surprising in a way. If you're an undocumented immigrant, you don't want to get deported. You're pretty unlikely to commit a crime because that's not going to lead to a great outcome for you. But in any event, you see the same trends in property crime and in drug violations. Immigrants who come here, whether they're documented or whether undocumented, commit crimes at a lower rate than native-born Americans. That has been studied many times. This is a Texas study. You can find it anywhere else in the data. Those are the facts.
Now, you ask about the crime rate. Migrant crime is so bad. Donald Trump, do remember that the crime rate went up during your administration, and it is way down comparatively in my administration. And then as well, the migrant crime that you talk about is much less than immigrant crime, as well as the crimes of the United States citizens, which are the highest of them all. Please, let's be factual. Why don't you tell your people the truth, Donald Trump, when it comes to I had the largest tax cut in American history. Biden could have said, you did not. By the way, folks, go to xyz.com and see what the real numbers are. But let's just give you some perspective. Both Obama and Reagan had much bigger tax cuts relative to GDP than Donald Trump, bar none. Okay, let's go to as far as inflation is concerned. Well, Mr. Trump, you are the ones who raised tariffs on China, which caused those particular products to increase in price. That's your doing, Mr. Trump. And likewise, Mr. Trump, you are the one who mismanaged COVID, which also instituted what we had as a supply chain problem because of the policies that you passed that allows all our jobs to go overseas, that allows all these other things to occur. So, I mean, it was an effective presidential candidate and a president that has the realms, that holds the reins of the country, should be able to go out there a mano and slight this guy. And that's why they came into the debate fearing. They thought that's what they were going to get. And they knew they would have lost if we had a Kamala Harris or we had a Gavin Newsom. They're doing it. I think we have to be very smart because, again, 51 million people. That was a huge loss. It doesn't matter what we do in these different campaign rallies going forward. Nobody's going to see that. Very few people are going to see that. Partisans see the rallies. Everybody was focused on that debate when we had 51 million people seeing 33% of the electorate. Unfortunately, I don't even think about a second debate because I can't see, and I am a supporter of my brother Biden because he saved this country. He passed great progressive policies, but it's always country first. Country first. The American people first. I don't see any possibility of a better debate. And I stand by that. I mean, I am realistic, and more and more folks who follow this stuff are coming to the same conclusion. But truth matters. Truth matters. Honesty matters. Honorability matters. And folks, we cannot allow our brothers and sisters to remain uninformed, snowed, etc. I was in a dealership last night, and very nice man. We had a great talk, etc. And you know, I looked at him and I said, "I know what side you're on." And he said, "Yes, Egberto, but you know what? I listen. Gave my card, etc. And said, "We need to talk." All of us have to go out there to our brethren. One of the reasons, and this is not stuff from what I'm just telling you where I come from. I wrote this book called "It's Worth It: How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors." You're not going to convince all of them, but you're going to plant seeds of truth that when a trigger comes, it will make a difference. It is something that has got to be done. Okay, I'm going to start going to the phones, but I needed to get all of this out this morning unfettered. Now the lines are open, all for all of you. So please call now. Don't wait till the end. I ask you so kindly. Please call 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. Everybody that talks, max of 2 minutes today, my dear friends. So please get your thoughts together and let's go ahead and get busy. Come on in, brother Joe. Talk to me. Joe, you're hot. Joe, are you there? All right, put Joe on.
Did we lose Joe?
Okay, let's put Joe on hold and let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. Talk to me, my brother. Mayor of Politics and Right. Talk to me.
Before I point out the irony of what just happened with the Supreme Court, I want to dovetail with what you just said seconds ago. And here's an example to back up what you're saying. If and when the Democratic Party leadership should decide to swap out Joe Biden, let's say, for the California governor, you know what Trump and his people are going to do? They're going to start going, wah, no fair. We won the debate fair and square, and look at them cheating. They want to put somebody else in there now. Wah, not fair. And they'll keep drilling that point over and over and over again. Why? Because they're complainers. And it's not enough that they lie with equal facility. No, it's not enough. They just bamboozle the crap out of everyone. Okay, so now the reason I called. I lost count. I have lost count of how many times I've complained to the leadership of the Democrats as to the Supreme Court. We cannot survive as a country without a Supreme Court that functions. And I warned them over and over again since Barack Obama was in office. This was even before mouth Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley did what they did, violating their oath of office and obstructing justice in order to facilitate getting right-wingers into the Supreme Court. Forget all that. Oh, no. The irony is that the advice that I gave Joe Biden most recently about how he should have, within days or weeks of taking office back in 2021, was to put on a different set of clothes, something that he never wears, have a ceremony around it. You know, like when you have a wedding ceremony, so people have a touchstone in their memory to go back to when this couple, got married, or you can remember where you were at on 9/11. It's that kind of a thing. You make sure that when you go up on the national stage and announce a political emergency and you're going to do X, Y, and Z, you're able to have people refer back in their memory space to that day so that the Republicans can't rewrite history on your ass. And instead of Joe Biden doing it, now the Republicans are doing it. And they did it with their political operatives in the Supreme Court.
It is amazing.
Do you think Joe Biden's going to follow my advice now, even though legally he can get away with it? No, because they're the party of, like I told you guys before, they're the teacher's pet. They want to play by the rules all the time, hide behind parliamentarians, and dot all their I's and T's and all that stuff. Meanwhile, the Republicans are making and breaking rules with lightning speed, running circles around. And where does that leave you and me? We have to hit the streets in January, no matter who's in the White House.
Thank you, Johnny. Johnny, I am going to be out there, one person doing my job with the expectation that there are hundreds of other folks doing these internet shows and live talk shows, etc., that can really do as much informing as possible. Is Joe there? And then Patty. Let's see, is Joe back yet or not? Let's try that. And if not, we can hang it up. Joe, are you there? Okay, let's hang Joe and let's go to Patty. Come on in, Patty. How are you doing this morning? Good morning.
Doing fine, as much as can be expected. We need millions of us doing what you are doing, which is sharing truth. We have 4 months to choose democracy over autocracy. I would suggest looking at choosedemocracy.us, choosedemocracy.us. If we don't succeed in these next 4 months and millions of us sharing truth, we may need insight into how to live in an autocracy.
Patty, your statement is absolutely correct. And that's the reason why, even the stance that we take here is to engage with absolutely everybody. Nobody is my enemy. Nobody is too right wing for me. Nobody is too MAGA for me. I love on everybody because I love country. And if to love my country, I must love everybody within. And what I must do is ensure that those who are the ones that are taking advantage of us all don't succeed. Can only stress that by loving us and all each other. Anything else you want to say, Patty, before I move on?
Just I pray that we are the majority and we do what we need to do.
I'm so glad you said that, Patty. I'm so glad you said that. And let me tell you, we are the majority. Most people in America have consistently done the right thing. That we have a constitutional issue that doesn't allow that to materialize is the problem. We have to have not just most of us being good people. We have to have a massive amount of us being good. And the best way to get us good is exactly what you said. We must all be informed and we must all make everybody know they have a stake in our democracy. Thank you so kindly, Patty, for calling in this morning.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Harry. Come on in, Harry. 2 minutes.
Good morning, Egberto. Good morning.
Good morning,
Howard.
my brother from another mother.
Yeah, and good morning, Jack. Well, as I showed some of my frustration when I called Howard on the business line, he could only talk for a few minutes because he was busy. And I hope, Howard, you got some rest because you said you were really swamped. But anyway, it's a sad day for this country. You know, I grew up with learning about this government, checks and balances. I want there to be checks and balances still. And, this goes back to, and I'll piggyback off the mirror politics done right when he was talking about the Democrats. It goes back to the 2000 election. Al Gore should have fought harder because maybe he could have gotten a recount in Florida and maybe he would have won. And then Bush would not have been able to, Bush 43 wouldn't have been able to put Alito and, what's the other one? Alito and, can't remember the other justice he put up there.
It was Alito and Thomas. Go ahead.
Yeah, although, no, that was Bush 41 who put Thomas.
Oh, okay, you're talking Bush too. That's right. You're right. Go ahead.
Yeah, he put Alito and he put one other justice. If Gore had won, those two wouldn't have been there. And then Mitch McConnell didn't do his job. Merrick Garland got there. And then, of course, when we got defunct Trump in office, he put those three, Gorsuch, Barrett, or actually, no, he put those two.
Go ahead and make your point, Harry. You got about 30 seconds.
Okay. The point is, it's just sad that this right-wing court is controlling. You know, they just ignore what the Constitution says. As Howard stated, nowhere does it say that in there, that the president is immune for doing criminal crimes. It doesn't say that at all. And they're just...
No, it does not, Harry. Harry, the lines are completely full. I got to go ahead and I get to the rest. Thank you, my brother.
You guys have a good rest of the day. Take care.
You too, brother. All right, folks, don't forget, 713-526-5738. Let's go to Linda. Come on in, Linda.
Good morning. Long-time listener as well as supporter. I just want to ask one question. We, as the American people that really care about this country, we vote in and we put into office the people that we believe will do the right thing. So I look at our representatives and we express our concerns, and they always, you will ask a question and they always have an answer. Sometimes they'll just repeat what you told them, but they never, ever take action or do the things that they know they have the power to do to make it right. We can vote all we want to, but the people, we can march, we can protest, but the people that we put in office, if they do not do the things to cover the American people, we do understand and we do know that we have some people that we have elected that are not even at our best interest when it comes down to a dollar. My thing on this, we're going to put the other representatives aside, and now I'm going to take it to our current president. We voted for our current president, and we voted for the people that are on his team. My thing is, we know that the president can do something about the Supreme Court. We talked about this over and over again. Go ahead and strike the Supreme Court. Change the numbers. That's all he needs to do, because we got to do something. If we don't do something before he leaves office, we're doomed.
Let me just say this, because you're right. And again, remember I don't know if you listened to the preamble that I gave before I opened up the calls, but one of the things that I want to tell you, Linda, is you're absolutely right. We have a choice to vote the right people in. We knew when we got a Joe Biden, we knew when we got a Schumer and these guys, that these guys are statists. In other words, these guys work within these domains. We need people to I want to break out a little bit here. I was a Bernie Sanders supporter because I understood we needed to have a progressive country if we are going to get the things that you just stated executed. But we weren't able to make the case. I believe also in a democracy, you must go out there and do what's necessary to make your case. I don't think we've sufficiently made our case in enough time to actually move forward. Now, what we have now, Linda, is exactly what you said. We have the ability to not take what people are saying at face value, but look at them, look at their own records. We have to be an educated voter. If you put a status in the House, he's going to sit back or she's going to sit back there and just keep the status quo. One of the reasons Trump got elected is he didn't vote, he didn't run. And when I say elected, I say that in quotation. Right? He went to a particular sect. He took their grievances and he turned it into napalm. And that's why he won in the states he won. He has never ever won most of the people, but that's why he won. What we have to do going forward is exactly what you said. We have to vote the right people in. I know when you say that we vote them in and they don't do what we ask them to do. Actually, when we vote some of these people in, we knew who they were. We knew that they weren't going to do the right things, but because it made us comfortable, we did it anyway. This election, we should not take that risk. Let me tell you one mistake that was made. New York just got rid of Bowman. And they got a status instead of Bowman, both Democrats, but they got someone who is there as the status quo. We can't keep making that kind of mistake. And that is what I'm talking about. So I thank you so kindly, Linda. You're absolutely right. But you know what? Both you and I have to keep doing the work. We both have to keep doing the work. Anything else real quick, Linda?
Yeah, address the president doing something about the Supreme Court and I know he can subpoena them. They can do a trial. Let us air it out so that I hope that all the public can hear.
Let me just tell you the rules. Linda, let me just say the rules. No, he can't. The honest rules is that the only way to get rid of a Supreme Court justice to impeach them, and to impeach them requires the Senate to have a 6 to 7 vote. It's just not there. The only thing that we can do going forward with a Senate that gets rid of the filibuster is to put more people on the court to counteract the evil that is there right now. And that we can do, but we have to elect senators that are willing to do that. Okay?
Yes, I got you.
I got to go, Linda, but we can do that, Linda. We're kind of out on time, but we can do it, Linda. We can do it. Let's keep making sure to get the vote out. Let's go to Mike. Come on in. No, Donald. Oh, well, after Mike, I'll go Donald. Mike, come on in.
Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
About the situation with by Joe Biden being the candidate. I think the opportunity for Bernie Sanders was really sabotaged. I really feel that way.
It was.
And when Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg went to visit Clyburn in South Carolina, and they made that pact, that agreement, where they all fell in behind Joe Biden, it sabotaged Bernie Sanders. Because the economy was in a very, very bad situation. There was an opportunity to get health care, there was an opportunity to raise the taxes on the corporations. All the opportunities were there for we citizens that had a representative that was talking on our behalf, saying this is what we need, and this is what we're going to go at, and this is what we're going to get for the citizens. But that conspiracy sabotaged it all. This is why we're in the situation we're in.
Mike, look, you're absolutely right. That, and by the way, I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders in Philadelphia. I was a delegate in Philadelphia, but I played ball. I played ball because, again, it's country over anything else first. And that's the reason I then jumped on the other bandwagon personally. But that's where I was. And the Democratic Party has thrown a whole lot of this on themselves. Let's go to Brother Donald. Donald, real quick, my brother.
Okay, good morning. How was Trump's tax cuts brought about? How were they implemented? Was it an executive order?
No. It wasn't executive order. It was by this Congress.
Okay. Now, any of the other executive orders, Biden rolled them back. If every year was an election year, we would have a better state of the union. This is the problem. Where's Kamala Harris been? You said she could do a better job. But
absolutely.
What's she been doing? How come she's not been at the border? How come she's not been doing her job? Why is she not out?
Look, I am not going to argue with that. Donald, you're absolutely right. Donald, how am I going to argue with you? The way it works is that they keep, look, you're right. Donald, you're right. They held their under wraps. But I tell you what, while she was running, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, people allow people to do that. You got to make your candle shine brighter without pissing on somebody else's. You got to stand up and do your job no matter if anybody else does their job. You got to stand up and do what's right for the people no matter if anybody else doesn't do it. You got to get out in front. Hey, if anybody teaches us anything, the camera hog is Sheila Jackson Lee. She'll be out everywhere, but she's getting her face out there. Kamala should have took some lessons.
She could. No. Again, I repeat, she could not do that. That's not how it works for vice presidents. You have never, ever seen a vice president do that. Not even Biden when he worked for Donald Trump. Biden when he worked for Obama.
But you can still put yourself out there by doing certain things.
Again, that's Donald. Donald, I wish that's how it worked. But when you sign up to be vice president, you sign up. Look how they define the job. When you sign up for vice president, you sign up to be pretty much you do nothing. That's what it turns out to be. But Donald, give me a closer, my brother, so I can go to Derek.
How was Nancy Pelosi on a ship over there when we were having problems with one of the foreign countries? You can go and do things. You just have to be intellectual about it.
She is the top of where she is. Kamala works for the vice president. It's a difference, my brother. Let's talk about that tomorrow because I got some more calls I got to get through. Thank you, Donald.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let's go to Derek. Come on in, Derek.
Good morning.
Yeah, you're here, Derek. Talk to me.
Okay, yes. Before I make my point, I want to give a definition of political leaning. It is the belief, ideals, or aim that you hold or lean towards. The Judas factor comes in between the two opposing views. The ruling of the Supreme Court comes in between to settle the nation's argument. Betrayal will always be found in the political leanings of the majority. There are Judases in the so-called nine justices. Is anybody surprised?
No, sir. Brother. Thank you very much, Derek. You're absolutely right. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening, brother. All right, let's jump to Gil. Come on in, Gil.
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm fine. Talk to me, sir.
I have a historical question. I recently heard that there are many Hispanic males and black males that are going over to support Trump. My question is, how did Trump's alleged economic policy empower the black populace when he was in office, if that's even true? Because
it's all fallacy. It's all fallacy. I have a lot of black friends. Okay, that's what it's all about. And it's a mirage. Trump is a very good person that knows how to promote things. Look, billionaires and people that are wealthy and people that think they can be wealthy can always be snowed into supporting a Trump. Trump went to a barbershop that he didn't appear at. And when he went to that barbershop, you know what he did? He never showed up, but he paid the barbershop $4,000 to host Bonin and a couple other black Republicans. And then he made it seem like these were black supporters. Of course, what he did is in effect cratered the guy's business. It's all an illusion. Black folks ain't voting for Trump. Latinos ain't voting for Trump. Okay, it's the idea that if you say something, you hope to make it be a reality out of peer pressure. It ain't gonna happen if the people who support policies do their job. Anything else, Gil?
Gracias, just all that. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, sir. All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Good morning. Thanks for everyone volunteering for the program.
Thank you, brother. Talk to me.
Okay, as normal, the left wing is accusing the right wing of exactly what the left wing is doing.
Okay.
It was not total immunity towards the charges that were falsely brought against Trump, which was probably false documents?
It was more than that, but I don't think anybody said it was total immunity.
Okay, well, that's what I'm hearing from the left. It's like all over CNN that he's got.
No, my brother, that's what you want to hear. You want to hear that. Let me tell you what's the reality. The reality is what I said. And the reality is the problem that they did that gave it more immunity than it would seem is that they said for every incident, if that incident has a component of what the president did that is immunized, that evidence cannot be used in the portions where he doesn't have immunity. And what that implicitly does is it says, well, how can I prove it if I can't use the items that he did when he was in office? So it's not actual total immunity, but it's implied immunity at that point. It's a simple concept. Go ahead, my brother.
Okay. No. Jack Smith brought up 2 misdemeanors and made them into a federal offense. Mm-hmm. Did you know that one of the documents that was supposedly being top secret was written by Trump to the brother of a Sandy Hook murder victim?
And what does that say? If it's classified, it's classified.
No, sir. It's not classified.
But what I'm saying, I got to go. But let me ask you one simple question. Did Trump have? No, Brian, I don't do that, Brian. It's just about the time and the amount of calls we had. Real quick, let's not talk about it because you always get a platform here. So don't start that. Listen to me, Brian. You are a part of the family. Answer me this, please. Were there any documents that Trump had in all those boxes in his toilet that were classified? Yes or no?
Yes, there were personal documents involved.
I asked you, were there classified documents there? Yes or no, my brother?
We don't know that yet, do we? Because they've been mishandled by Jack Smith.
Brian, we'll talk tomorrow. Brian, we'll talk tomorrow. Love you, brother. We'll talk tomorrow, okay? Thank you for calling. All right, we got to get out of here. So let me just throw it to the studio. Studio, let's close this baby down.
Well, very interesting show today, of course, and we thank of all of our callers for calling in. We lost Joe Big Oil. I really wanted to hear from him this morning because he was the first caller out of the bag. So I really wanted to hear from Joe. Maybe we'll get to hear from him tomorrow. Jack, what you got, man?
Term limits for all justices.
I'm starting to believe that. I am starting to believe
terms
that.
for all justices.
Yeah, okay, that too. Anyway, folks, we are in unprecedented times right now. We all have to step up and vote. Kristen Welker had, from Meet the Press, had a lot of ammunition for VP wannabe Doug Burgum, from governor of North Dakota. This time it had to do with an interview that he did with Chuck Todd, where he talks about always telling the truth and believe in being truthful. Remember, this is the same guy who also told Chuck Todd that he would want to have nothing to do with Donald Trump because, you know, you lie with dogs, you sleep with fleas, right? Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Governor, let me just ask you about the debate and a little bit more of what we saw. By one count, Donald Trump made more than 30 false claims during that debate. I want to play something you told my colleague Chuck Todd on this broadcast last year. Take a look.
You ever lied in politics?
No.
That you know of? You don't believe you've ever lied?
No.
You feel like you've always told the truth as you understood it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I was raised, and that's how I've gone forward.
As someone who is on Donald Trump's shortlist to be his vice presidential nominee, do you think he should stop saying things that are not true?
I think that the whole manufactured thing this morning of that Donald Trump has said something that he hasn't said before. I mean, everything that he said on Thursday night, he's been saying before. I mean, so this isn't.
But this is not manufactured.
This is not news.
But this is not manufactured, Governor. I mean, just to say a few, he said that Democrats want to kill infants after birth. That's not true. He again lied about widespread fraud. Not true. He lied about its comments after Charlottesville. Should he be truthful with the American people if he wants to lead this country? Well, especially given what you just said, that you never lie. That's your standard, Governor.
Well, I think you bring up an important issue.
So, yeah, I mean, here he is going out there and talking about truth. When asked about what about all those lies that Donald Trump talks about? Do you feel comfortable about that? He refuses to answer. He changes the subject. He just shows the hypocrite that he is. That's what we have with Trump's sycophants and with the Supreme Court giving these guys immunity. God help us if they ever get into power. They represent a clear and present danger. Please remember the rest of the program. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Look, love you all. Love all our callers. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for sharing about the program. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.